Good evening and welcome to I Am Piscataway. This is Wednesday, February 6th, and we're on the air live. If you'd like to speak with me or my guests, please call us at any time during this hour-long program at 732-562-2305. Our guests tonight are at-large Councilwoman Gabrielle Cahill and the newly sworn-in police chief of Piscataway Township, Mike McLaughlin. Gabrielle Cahill was first elected in 2008 to an at-large seat on the Township Council. She was re-elected in 2012 and 2016. Gabrielle serves on the Public Safety and Personnel Committees. And welcome back to the show, Gabrielle.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mike McLaughlin is our new police chief. Joining the township as an officer in 1985, he worked in the patrol, juvenile, vice, community policing, and general investigation section of the department. Rising through the ranks throughout his career, he was sworn in as chief in January, and we want to welcome for the first time as chief of police, Mike McLaughlin.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your right there. So, I guess for since this is not your first time on the show, but the first time as chief, and I guess residents come and go in Piscataway Township as they do in other communities. Maybe we want to go over some background information on how departments and where their divisions are within the department, what they are, what they stand for, what do they do, for a few minutes to just give a general flavor for the viewership, not only just in Piscataway, but all the other communities, so they have somewhat a rudimentary idea of what their police departments are about.
Sure. The Piscataway Police Department is made up, we have a patrol section who handle your day-to-day calls. That's your first responders. We have a traffic and safety section that do traffic studies. They do fatal accident investigation.
Now, we just recently, we had closed down last Saturday for a traffic investigation situation on Stelton Road.
That's correct.
For a couple hours.
That's correct. It
So,
was a previous...
when that happens, what do those officers actually do? They don't just look around and take a look. They're actually doing something out there. What do they actually do?
There's a lot more than just looking around. They take measurements of the road. They measure the width of the road, the site where the first impact may have occurred to the final resting point of the vehicles. So they're monitoring, they're taking many different measurements to determine how the accident occurred and how it ended up.
And now, because of now with GPS technology out there and using all digitized equipment out there, I think it's a lot probably different than when you first started on the force.
It's a long way from the tape and chalk. Yes.
Yeah,
we're a long distance from that. Everything is, as you said, GPS oriented, and it's there's electronic devices to measure these roads and the distances from any stationary item.
So I guess for the general public is like especially when there's a very serious action or a fatal accident out there that the prosecutor's office is involved, their measurements and the things that they investigate are critical to the prosecution of the case.
That's absolutely correct. They want to make sure that they get everything right to charge and get a proper solution to whatever happened. So the investigation begins before the accident actually occurred. They want to know where was the driver prior to the impact. So that's where the investigative portions come in.
And I just want to let the general public know that, as Councilmember Cahill also is aware, that it's not just the police department investigating. You have engineers out there because they want to make sure that there wasn't anything flawed on designs of roadways or anything like that, or if there's going to be some improvements, so something like that, whatever the incident may be, doesn't happen again.
That's correct. It's primarily to prevent a future event as opposed to shirk any responsibility.
Really?
It's really to take corrective action so that we never have anybody lose a life.
So I have a question. So once investigation is done now, and let's say there is a corrective measure, like how long does it take for the township, for the general public to react to that? Like, what is our process so the general public knows?
In essence, dependent upon the jurisdiction, whether it's county, state, or a municipal roadway, if it's something that needs to be improved with the design of the roadway or something like that, or additional safety measures, that would be a recommendation from the police department to have, say, the engineering department or to have the town as a whole hire an outside consultant to go in and take a look on what can be improved depending upon the circumstances. And sometimes it may not have to do with the design of the roadway or anything like that. It's just somebody just drove off and hit something, that you no matter how many safety features you put out there, that accident was going to happen anyway.
Many times it's operator error.
Yeah.
It's either speed related. Many accidents are speed related. Particularly the severity of an accident is increased due to speed. We have a fantastic traffic and safety section. With regards to the referral, our traffic and safety lieutenant, Tom Mosier, would draft up letters, whether it be the state, the county, or right to our own engineering department if there were improvements that were needed. He's really our house expert who would make the recommendation. And as you said, the state may come in and look, the county may come in and look, but locally we would make the corrective action as quickly as possible to prevent any further injuries.
Some of the things may be a couple $1 million worth of corrective action, but depending upon where you are in the budgeting. But more importantly is that some corrective actions that may come up may require Department of Transportation of approval to do that. In essence, raising and lowering the speed limit requires DOT approval, weight limits, design standards. Are all DOT, even to put up a stop sign, you have to, a lot of times you have to go to the DOT for approval.
Unfortunately, many citizens think that you just pop one in the ground and you're good to go. That's not the case. You spelled it out.
Well, and because it all has to do about a liability issue. And they want to make sure that if they're signing off on something, to make sure it was done correctly out there, because they don't want to have potential future accidents or whatever out there, because ultimately at the end of the day, even though sometimes government at the local and county and state have some sort of broad immunities, but the end game is that for the general public, you still don't want to see serious things happen out there. Accidents.
If I could, while we're still sort of on this topic about safety and measures and how you talked about speed, we have roads and towns where we know a lot of people drive past them. They're sort of cut roads, and usually they're our own citizens, and sometimes at late at night. So what is it about speed bumps that I know for the most part sometimes it just it doesn't necessarily deter, or does it work best?
Speed bumps particularly?
Yeah.
We don't use speed bumps in Piscataway.
No, we don't.
They subject the vehicle to too much damage.
Right.
That's first and foremost, and they can be ineffective. Unfortunately, unless you space them ridiculously close.
Well, I see people go around them.
Yeah, that's the
really
other
why
option.
I'm bringing it up.
Yes, they do go around them, which, again, you're blading more towards the sidewalk. You're really putting more people in danger at times than it's worth.
Right.
Well, all right. So we talked a little bit about the traffic section, and we're going to come back to the traffic section because we do have some clips that we could show that had to do with the traffic section, during about River Road. The investigation section.
The investigation section, thank you. I lose track sometimes. But the investigation section, another large part of our police department, we have a special victims unit which deals primarily in juvenile-related.
Now, that wasn't always the case in police departments in general, and that has really come about over the last, say, 15 years or so. At least the name itself. The
name is, what they did was they merged sex offenses and juvenile offenses together. That unit was best suited to investigate those types of crimes, so they call it a special victims unit, and it's all encompassing for that. We have a general investigation section, which investigate from a minor criminal, not minor, there is no minor offenses, but something as criminal mischief right on up to a homicide. Then we have our narcotics section that do drug enforcement in town. That is a selective group that do drug enforcement. We also have a community policing section, which is a large part of the Piscataway Police Department. We are truly and universally committed to the community. We have found great success not only with our community policing officers, but every one of our officers is trained in community policing. They avail themselves to the community, and really the success that we enjoy here in Piscataway is due to our relationship with members of the community. There is a strong bond between your police department and your citizenry.
Right. I definitely, I mean, as a resident of the town, I can appreciate that. And coming into a town that is truly multicultural, I've always sort of felt like Piscataway was a microcosm of what we think of America being sort of a melting pot. And we're never in the news with incidences. And I think that that is a real testament to the police department and, of course, all of the residents who live here. It doesn't hurt that we live in a college town and you have highly educated people who decide to, plant their roots here and have a certain way of thinking about things. But I've always felt like it starts with that community policing piece.
Well, and one of the things we want to encourage residents that, that when you think of community policing, you also think of neighborhood watch groups, where we have, throughout the town, we have some neighborhood watch groups, and we encourage the residents to contact the police department about a form. We're just not going to stick a sign up there and say this is neighborhood watch, because that's ineffective. You actually have to have teamwork working with the police department in a neighborhood, a quadrant area, wherever it may be.
Right.
We've had different times throughout my career where we've had an active criminal element. Neighborhood watch groups are fantastic at addressing these problem areas. It gives a voice to the community. They get to meet the police officers. They get to interact with the police officers. And really, we are only so strong in the numbers that we have on the police department. To add so many residents' eyes and ears is invaluable. We can't. We could not outfit enough people that through the efforts of our community policing section led by Lieutenant Frank Hackler, who does a phenomenal job, as you know, reaching out to the members of the community, getting them involved. Whenever you're at a public event and you see one of our blue shirts with the yellow lettering, you know that that's somebody who's been through our Citizens Police Academy, and they're part of our team. But everybody is welcome to join that.
And by the way, especially during when we have the parade, Memorial Day parade, the 4th of July event.
They are there.
And National Night Out. Those are three big events where we have the graduates from the community policing, adult community policing come out.
Huge events where we rely on our Citizens Academy graduates to parallel our efforts, and they add such a tremendous support system to our workforce that many of them have been doing it year after year, that they enjoy it. We know them very well now. We enjoy their assistance.
And the funny part is that they've seen a lot of the junior patrolmen, now senior patrolmen, or maybe in command staff mode throughout the years.
They have a vested interest in several of us, myself included. I've been fortunate enough, I meet people at National Night Out that look familiar, and then they know my name, they know who I am because I gave a class of instruction at the Citizens Academy. They're such a great asset to have to support our cause and to represent the town.
Right.
They really do represent our town in such a positive way. They avail themselves, they answer questions for other people who maybe are a little shy about getting involved. Now they see one of their neighbors with one of these shirts on, and they realize that, hey, that's something I might be interested in. And
well, I know you're going to give a plug a little bit for the class a little later, but it's kind of funny because sometimes a spouse will go in and go through the course, and then the next year it's the other spouse that's coming in.
Yeah.
Because the husband and wife, one of them went through and say, hey, you should do that, and then it's kind of funny.
I think it's very rewarding for people who participate. They get to see their police department. They get to meet all of the officers. We use our own officers for instruction on the basic course. So you interact with the traffic section. You interact with the narcotics officers. You interact with our general investigation detectives, our patrol officers. They do simulations of actual police work, and I have not heard a single person with anything but praise for our program.
Well, more importantly for the general public, you might want to give your promotional push when the date is.
February 21st is our first night for the Citizens Police Academy. This class is full, but we always advertise for additional classes moving forward. It's always on the Piscataway website. If you're interested, please feel free to look on the website, or you can reach Frank Hackler, or Lieutenant Frank Hackler, at 732-562-2351, which is his direct line, and he will get you an application for a future class.
But I have, when you see them out using the radar guns out there on Hose Lane, when they have them out there,
I could be dangerous. I need to join one of these classes. I need to have a radar gun out there.
It's very rewarding for people who think they know what the police officers do to actually see what the police officers do. And they're shoulder to shoulder with the officer, and they get to experience some of the things that our officers do on a daily basis. Not only the what we call fun things, but also they get to experience some of the stress, because we give them real life scenarios to live through, and they've gotten a chance to see and feel what it's like to be a police officer for moments of their lives, and their takeaway has been nothing but positive.
Right.
Just for the general public, there's actually a simulation of a motor vehicle accident where they have two cars, two wrecks that they bring in, and it not a fatal accident scene, but what they have to do using the equipment to determine what they did on Stelton Road last Saturday.
They would do an accident recreation, because they can make determinations based on a drag mechanism on the road to determine the speed prior to impact.
Awesome.
They can use the depth of the crush on the cars to determine these things all contribute to the accident, and like I said, the speeds and things like that. And we happen to have one of the best traffic and safety sections around.
And I just, when a request comes into any of the council members, or Councilman Cahill or myself, probably 85 to 90% of the time it has to do with speeding in individual neighborhoods. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's folks that live within the neighborhood that are doing it.
This is why I had brought up, what are the things that can deter? Now, I know that we put VMS, the little speed signs up, and that does help in neighborhoods. We've heard feedback from it, but the people are just going to do what they do.
So we're going to hold that thought. I want to remind the viewers, number 732-562-2305. My guests this evening include our new Chief of Police, Mike McLaughlin, and Councilman Gabrielle Cahill. I'm at a loss, Chief, here because I don't have a list of what feeds that we're going to do next. So we're going to go to the first feed, so somebody in the back room is going to run out and give me the list of where the video feeds. So let's go to the first videotape. I, Mike McLaughlin, Michael McLaughlin.
I, Michael McLaughlin.
Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution. Of the United States. And the Constitution. Of the State of New Jersey. That I will bear true faith. And allegiance to the same. And to the governments established. In the United States. And in the State of New Jersey. That I will justly. Impartially. And faithfully. Perform all the duties. Of Office of Chief of Police. Police. Piscataway Township. According to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations, Chief. Congratulations.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank the distinguished guests that came to visit here tonight. Matt Geist, the Middlesex Chief, thank you very much. Captain John Casella is here, I see. Anybody I forget, I'm sorry. Several dignitaries here. Thank you so much for coming out. First, I stand before you humbled by this honor and opportunity. I want to thank Mayor Waller and the council for the confidence in my ability to lead this department. I stand before you as a soloist in this new position, but I did not get here alone. Helping me along the way has been my mother and father, my brother and sisters, my wife and my children, and every one of you officers who I've ever had the pleasure of working with over the years. My success is based on your performance. You have let me take the lead, and I am grateful. I will work every day to lead this department to serve the community to the best of my ability. Thank you all very much for coming out tonight.
Well, I have to laugh, Chief. I wanted to make sure I wasn't like Justice Roberts, where I screwed up the oath. You know, remember with the President Obama in 2012, he had to go back down to the White House and redo the oath because there was a question whether he said it correctly or not. But we didn't have to do that.
No, we got it right.
Yeah, that's good news. So now we have another video clip of some of the promotions. So let's go to the video team, and we're going to speak over that. Okay, Chief, take it away.
This is Sergeant Joe Riley. That's his lovely wife and 3 children.
As he so mentioned.
He did mention, yes. And this is Hakeem Abdullah, who is with his lovely wife and 2 children. And Hakeem's been with us for 11 years now, I think it is.
Long-time resident.
Yes, and a long-time resident. This is Lieutenant Chris Young, who was sworn in a short period of time ago with his 2 children and his lovely wife.
Yeah, they... and there's everybody
And this
together.
is the whole group together with former Chief Scott Cartmel.
Now, I just wish I could get my suit pressed the way you guys do.
I know,
Sure, it's
seriously.
Right there. I need to find out which dry cleaner you guys use there. And tell me, well, I'm not that cheap where I do it myself at the house. So, but,
You're not.
no.
I'm glad one of us isn't.
Newsflash.
Yeah. We do have another clip, speaking in tune with the traffic division while we're along that thought. So let's go to the video too. It's about the River Road truck 10-ton truck limit. So basically now, if you live along the River Road, you're seeing the VMS boards that are going to be out there for the month of February, out there, and this is just an awareness campaign for the Motor Truckers Association and truckers in general that, you know, if their vehicles over 10 tons. And they have been traversing River Road, that they will not be able to do that after March 4th. So we've been working very closely with the County Engineering Department, the County Roads Department, who, by the way, just signed off on the signage plan. And then obviously our police department working with our engineering department and our public works department with the signage plan for the roads that meet the county road and empty in there. So you're going to be seeing a plethora of signs going up probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks along River Road and some of the side streets out there for the future enforcement of the 10-ton ban.
The first effort is to educate. Get
That's
everybody up to speed. Let the truckers know this is no longer going to be a safe passage for you.
Yeah.
You're going to have to find another. The other way is
18.
18. Just follow 18, and it's really going to be a smoother ride for them once they make the adjustment. It's a matter of re-educating their travel, just understanding this is no longer an acceptable means of getting to 287. You're going to take 18, and you're going to link up.
And in that
18.
process, obviously, we're going to be contacting the Motor Truckers Association to let them know, and we're going to have to notify Waze.
Yeah.
Yes.
The app that, hey, listen, you can't be putting that on your
Right.
app, so the band, you need to know that. So,
all these new
apps
that we have to make sure that happens.
and even Google.
And you're right,
yeah.
exactly. I mean, it's music to my ears. I live on River Road, of course, and I in this town. It will be 19 years at the end of June that I have lived in town. And when I bought the house, the sellers laid out the plan for Route 18 and the extension at that time and said, "Don't worry, the trucks are coming off." Right. And so here we are, almost 19 years later. To that come to fruition, and my neighbors certainly are anxious and chomping at the bit for when this happens. I think just speaking as a resident on River Road and understanding that instead of me out there screaming like "get off my road," that we know that the town is going to support the residents who are obviously going to be happy to know that there are these other measures other than signs that will help to reinforce the truckers. I'm hoping.
Of course. Along with the signage, we'll have an enforcement campaign. And the enforcement campaign will be several police officers. So those same residents will see a lot of red lights. They're going to have to get used to that for a short period of time until that education goes out and the enforcement goes out, because unfortunately, sometimes the only way to really get our message across is through strict enforcement.
Sure.
So we will do a strict enforcement campaign, and we'll follow it up with periodic campaigns. That's what's needed to re-educate the motorists.
Right. I'm happy you're saying it because sometimes too, we live in the town, we enjoy it, but we're not you know, we don't know as the average resident what goes behind everything as we talk about accident. So I'm glad to hear that, so that when our residents do watch the show, they can have that level of confidence that it's not just in a vacuum here. You know, this is going to happen.
Well, you know what? It's kind of funny, Councilman Chief, that this was actually a learning curve for the county engineering department, because you got to remember, county roads throughout the state of New Jersey are built on the assumption you're going to have heavy volume traffic on.
Right.
They're typically the most heavily traveled roads in respective communities. So it's very rare that they get a request and or an approval from the state of New Jersey to do a weight limit reduction, you know, on a major thoroughfare in a major town. Right. It just doesn't happen.
But you know what? It is a benefit, because if you think about it too, is that the whole point of extending the Route 18 was to carry that load. Yeah. And it would have been, in my opinion, and of course, again, being a resident on River Road, sort of unfair then to maintain two roads heavily traveled. That if we're going to have one, and, you know, to some extent I feel some remorse in that it goes through that center of town, but it was always the plan. So I think, you know, it was the right move, and, you know, a big push by Councilman Khan and yourself to go actually see a promise that had been made years ago is kept.
Well, one of the other enforcement mechanisms, they're actually looking at raising the value of the ticket, so to speak. The fine. You know, because in some cases, depending upon individual, $108 is not.
It's not enough.
It's not enough
to deter them.
Deter it. So actually, we have the township attorney looking at whatever the state statute allows to go up in that respect.
Right.
But you know, and that being said, you know, one of the things that Councilman Khan brought up within the last several years, it was been blatantly obvious that some of the trucks were going down River Road, not because it was a quicker route, it's because that they were trying to avoid the way station on 287.
Right, and I will tell you this too, Chief, and I'm sure you know this, and I've conveyed in the morning, if I see something, the mayor knows it, I call him, you know, we'll see them come through Centennial, and they'll, you know, get off, get onto Centennial, and then get back onto 287, you know, cutting through onto River Road there, which I think should be potentially probably an extension of how we think about the limit on River Road is, well, what is that corridor going to look to? And especially because we're going to be redoing the
we're going to be reconstructing Centennial.
I certainly wouldn't want to see a whole bunch of truck traffic, you know, pounding the pavement on a newly renovated street that's not meant for that usage.
Well, that all goes back to, I think, the thought processes after talking to prior chiefs, both former Chief Cartmel and former Chief Rick Ivone, is that at some point, because we do have the way station in our community, there's not enough state troopers to come off site to get those trucks that are circumventing that. We may have to send some of our own officers to get certified by the state police in order to do a vehicle check on that.
I think it's a great idea.
Truck inspection.
You know, your truck inspection. You know, you have to have their certification.
Right. And sometimes, I don't know, I mean, now because I guess it's, I don't know if we're still part of 18, but you know how 18 was, you know, River Road was 18, and then that was state. Yeah. So I see state troopers sometimes over by where the stadium, the university stadium is, and you'll see them with tractor trailers pulled over there. I'm not sure what that's about, but.
We're going to hold that thought, and we're going to go to some videotape from the Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast that was held at the Senior Center.
If Dr. King could rise out of his grave, and he's been in that grave for 51 years, rise out, what was this all about? What was the fight all about? It's almost stunning. It's like almost every day there's some crazy stuff coming out of Washington that doesn't help the community at large. And if you could write a novel, you couldn't even make this novel up. It's that crazy. So, but I want to thank Congressman Pallone for bringing some sensibility down to Washington about that and say, no, we're not, Piscataway Township, Middlesex County is not about that. We're about what's in this room here today. We all work with each other. I like to call this Team Piscataway. We may have differences, but we will all work on behalf of the township residents as a whole, no matter how large or how small your part may be in this community. Because as Hillary Clinton once says, it takes a village to raise a family. But it also takes a village to remind people that bigotry is not wanted in this country. It is not wanted in this country.
With the climate of the texture and the climate of the land today, I thought it would be so wonderful if we can have a person that can come in and give us insight of what's going on in Washington, D.C.
Dr. King felt very strongly that government could make a difference, right? So he wanted people to vote. He wanted to make sure that, that there was equal opportunity from an economic point of view. But voting was and making sure everybody was able to vote and there weren't restrictions on voting was a means to influence the government, right? And to have a government that was actually going to make a difference in people's lives and create equal opportunity and justice for all and the things that he talked about. The bottom line is that, that if we stick together and we vote and we have the solidarity, we can achieve the things that Dr. King talked about and the dream that he focused on. And there's always going to be steps back, but at the same time, if we continue to work together and speak out and make sure that we vote and we're active, we can make a difference and move closer to his dream every day.
Turn me around, I'm gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep right on talking, marching up to freedom land.
First of all, I want to thank the Piscataway Civil Rights Commission for sponsoring the annual MLK Remembrance ceremony over at the Senior Center, and I want to thank all the residents who showed up and not to remember some of Dr. King's teachings and his thoughts and things like that, and we sure can use them in this day and age here, that's for sure. We do have some monthly announcements. I want to remind people if you need help filing out your income tax forms, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistant Program is available at the Senior Center. It is for those of any age who is qualified by income. It is by appointment only and lasts until April 11th. Please call us at the Senior Center for more information. I noticed only until April 11th. I guess nobody wants to file it on the deadline at April 15th. I guess not. With that being said, picnic signups are here. First day of the reserved pavilions at Columbus, Possumtown, and Riverside Parks for picnics are on Saturday, March 2nd at 9 a.m. in Town Hall. For more information, please go to the Recreation Department's pages on the Township website. The Mettler Bodine House, if you want to get tickets for the annual spring benefit, on Saturday evening, April 6th, cocktails, specialty wines, and beer bars will be complimentary to the delicious hors d'oeuvres menu. Along with a live silent auctions will be on hand for listening and dancing. For more information, please contact the Mettler Bodine House website for there. And they're doing great work with that, I may add. The annual community-wide cleanup litter day is Saturday, April 13th, and will be part of the Piscataway Clean Team led by Councilmember Michelle Lombardi. And you can find the registration forms for groups and individuals on the Township website. And I want to remind folks, obviously that's the week before Easter, so we didn't want to have the scheduling. Actually, Earth Day is the following week, which falls on Easter weekend. So we moved it up a week because we figured some people were going to be going away. So, but in that thought, for those folks that are in a panic out there, the dump permits are at the mailer. You should be getting them second week of February.
I was wondering where mine were.
Yeah, we know how much. I mean, it's like a religious thing.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people bring in. They just like going to the recycling center just to sake of chit chatting with everybody down there while they're dropping off their.
It's my husband's favorite place to go on Saturdays.
There's something about watching that truck crush things.
Yeah.
True.
Well, it is what it is. But just be patient, folks. If you don't get them by Saturday, you'll have them Monday or Tuesday of this coming week. So that concludes our monthly announcements. And one other thing is that throughout the month, and we're going to announce there's going to be some other events for Black History Month. So just keep an eye on our website about that. We were speaking about the River Road truck ban. One thing that has been low-keyed and not publicized yet is that we're actually having North Randolph-Ville Road as a light traffic street. So, which means we're going to have to go through the same thing with the engineering department, which we're not going to have the county involved, but there's going to be a signage plan for that. That once the police department is finished working with our engineering department and public works, the next street they're moving over to is North Randolph-Hill Road. Same thing out there. So, that's a thing that we're going to have to get the Motor Trucking Association to know that you won't be able to come off that way. So.
It's another advisement opportunity. It's another enforcement, and these enforcements are not they're not money grabs. They're not about that. They're about returning these streets, these residential streets, River Road, houses on both sides of the street. North Rand, same thing. It's to return these to what I believe they were intended. You mentioned the county road and the infrequency of returning it to what it was designed for. Anybody who drives down River Road realizes it's a beautiful ride. Right. It's designed beautifully with the bends and the twists, and the houses are gorgeous. The park is beautiful. I think it's going to return to the beautification that it was designed to be.
I 100% agree with you, Chief, because I've always felt, and the mayor knows this, I've always felt like we have, one entrance of the town from a more southern part, the other entrance at the northern part being River Road, is that, if you have so many people coming into the town this way or even passing through, it says something about our town if we can beautify it, make it look lovely,
And that seems to go in breadth the reason why North Randolph-Hill Road was suggested and the council voted on it and back in December is because the two schools.
Right.
And plus there's not that many businesses along that road that would be affected. I mean, the businesses that are off of Bell Street, they'll still be able to get deliveries and things like that, but they won't be able to go out beyond Bell Street to go down to William Street. So typically it's not affecting any businesses or anything like that or interrupting interstate commerce, so to speak. So with that being said, they're waving me on. That's saying that I got to go with some more video clips. So let's go to the next video clip here, and I guess we're supposed to speak over this. The annual Rabies Clinic.
I was there that day.
I want to thank you, Councilwoman, for sitting there all day. And what's your dog's name?
Well, the dog who helped volunteer was Birdie, named for Lady Bird Johnson.
Okay.
And I have another dog, Bridget, who could not attend, but I met all these wonderful.
And you sat there for the 3 hours helping out registration.
There she is. That's Birdie.
Yeah.
Hi, Birdie. Yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah.
I really did. And it was a long line. But people I think they were talking to one another. There was some excitement because these are obviously all animal lovers, so they got to meet some of the residents' other animals. And there's Councilman Cahill Shaw giving out dog bones. We did have a complaint that where were the kitty treats, so next year we'll have to have some kitty treats.
Equal opportunity there.
Yeah. So it was a long line. It was a well-executed day, albeit that it was long. People were very patient. And believe it or not, by the time 12 o'clock came around, we had moved through almost all the folks.
That's Duncan.
That's Duncan.
My dog, he wasn't getting a shot. He was actually getting a chip. He was being chipped.
Oh, right.
So we were off in chipping service. My dogs were not down there to get rabies because they've already had, they were down there to get chipped. Right.
Birdie was there to get her rabies. She's new to our family via Michigan. But the chipping, people were super excited. Only $15 to do it. They couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Wow. And the rabies was free.
So I had my wife go online and register them right away when we got home. You got to remember, you get them chipped, but you still have to register them.
That's right.
We do have another videotape. Let's go to that. It's about Groundhog Day. Morning, Piscataway residents. It's Groundhog Day 2019. We're up on the Green Acres path, and we're going to see what Piscataway Pete has to say about his predictions for this spring. And I'm being assisted by Captain, the black lab, and the yellow lab is Duncan. So you don't smell him, do you? But he left a note, I think. Green Acres is too cold. Move to the field on Hose Lane, Piscataway Pete. So we're going to put this note back in his tunnel, and then we're going to go over to the field over by Kennedy Library. Well, here's the community center sign, and here's another note. Let's see what it says. It says 6 more weeks of winter, 8 weeks until groundbreaking for community center on March 30th. Piscataway Pete. How about that? Eat your heart out, Puxatawny Phil. I have to laugh. As everybody knows, in my general area where I live, they always see me walking my dogs out there. We were only supposed to keep one dog from the litter, and my wife leaned on me. She fell in love with Duncan the Yellow, and so I'm the one walking the dogs, and I'm walking 4 or 5 miles a day.
And those are big dogs.
Yeah. And the funny part now Captain is her favorite.
Right. The one dog that she could have really cared less about when he was just little, that's her favorite now.
Yeah. But with that being said, we do have another video feed. It was from a ribbon cutting ceremony that took place last month. So let's go to the videotape. This is the Wawa's. For those folks who remember the old gas station here, some of the residents were skeptical about how that was going to turn out and everything, but I think now a lot of the folks that live in the general area are appreciative of how it turned out. They cleaned up that center, that pie-shaped island out there. This was a fundraiser for opening day with the Piscataway police officers versus the North Staunton firemen out there on how to make sandwiches. That was interesting to watch. But it was interesting. I forgot who won that. Who won that day?
It looks like the police officers won.
Yeah,
of course.
There's Joe Riley there. And then that's where with the corporate, with Councilman Khan and Councilman Shaw out there with the corporate folks and then of course that's the first time I've ever seen a high school band at a gas station playing. That was interesting.
I think Wawa is about getting the community involved.
Yeah, but you know what? The way I look at it, as you and I both sit on the planning board, it's one of these things that the rundown site was cleaned up.
Yeah.
And it was the same use.
Right.
And
they part of the agreement was that there would be no trucks allowed to gas up there, and they have signs.
And they have low flow,
Well, they have
what they call low flow diesel, meaning no trucks can get in
That's
and
right.
fill up.
And they added signage.
Yeah.
So it's not like a random truck could just like pull in and expect it. They are trying to be part of, good neighbors, being part of the town. We I think the mayor can speak to this. We have sometimes some people come before planning board they don't like us, but that is because we're trying to do the right thing by the town. When you're going to have growth, it's inevitable. Let's try to do it the right way.
Or if you have to redevelop a site to clean up a site,
right?
you
Exactly.
have to do that. So.
And incentivize people to come in town to put their business there and help offset some of my taxes.
So,
And it's got great coffee.
well, you know what? It's kind of
There's
funny.
I know you don't
sandwiches-
drink coffee, but
No, I don't
Their
drink
sandwiches
coffee. I'm
are
thinking of
good
all the
though,
money I
too.
saved all these
Yeah.
years.
Not
But
me.
it's kind of funny because when I go grocery shopping at ShopRite, is that the folks that work behind the delicatessen are always asking, when is that going to be opened up? I want to get coffee. Right there. I wouldn't know. I'm not a coffee person. So.
Yeah.
But getting back to the police department, what do you think has been the toughest challenge for a police officer in this day and age?
I think coming to terms with probably the drug use, and not the traditional, like my era drug use, which was maybe street level. Yeah. We have now, our officers have to deal with opioid addiction. That's
Which,
why
by
we
the
all
way,
carry-
a lot of people don't know this, that our department has had a lot of Narcan saves.
Tremendous
Opioid-
amount. Tremendous
I mean,
amount.
it doesn't get advertised, no, we want it because there's a privacy issue. But, all patrols, they're issued on, been trained on the use of issuing Narcan, and it has saved a lot of lives.
It certainly has. Every police officer is a first responder, and that means more than just to criminal activity. That's also, if you have a medical emergency, traditionally the first person there is a police officer,
Right.
and it's triage, and unfortunately, the overdoses, as a country, we have to get a grip on this opioid addiction, and it's very sad that so many people are hooked on this, and we've had repeat saves on the same person, which is horrible. That you faced that one time, and then we had to come in and save that person more than one time. That's mind-boggling that we've had that.
You know, and I think not just in Piscataway, but departments throughout the country, that is something that they're coming to grips with. And you see families being torn apart by that addiction and the scourge. Basically, it's a scourge. Yeah. And you know,
and it came via most of the times way of a prescription drug.
An addiction to a prescription drug. Yeah.
Exactly, not your kid going out at night and trying to get some illegal drugs.
Street level drugs, right? You're absolutely right. It's prescriptions that have taken hold on these people. They're sick. You know, it's an illness. We have to recognize it as such. And unfortunately, that illness sometimes leads to criminal activity. But that is one of the a big thing that the new officer has to deal with, and they have to learn how to handle.
Yeah.
In addition to the many other aspects of law enforcement.
And we're going to get to a couple more, but we still have some more video here. This is like overload month for PCTV. So let's go to another videotape. It was based on the Indian. One, two, three.
First of all, I want to congratulate you on Republic Day. And I want to congratulate once again the folks from here at the Piscataway Senior Center, Senior Citizen Club, Asian Indian Club, for all the hard work that you do being productive citizens here in Piscataway Township.
They did have a nice crowd there at that thing, and I want to thank the Piscataway Senior Citizen Asian Indian organization there for sponsoring that. We do have another one about a luau at the senior center. Boy, they're rocking and rolling over there. Let's go to that videotape.
I mean,
This
they
is the
party
luau.
over there. They really do.
I mean, you could probably. I see Councilman Blard's got an outfit for every occasion over there at the senior center. So
Best councilman.
Yeah, he can't wear the same suit twice. The ladies would know.
yeah. But, you know, it's just, they have a lot of great programs. So I'm asking if you meet the criteria, just sign up. Doesn't mean you don't have to come every day over there. You can come whenever you want. So, but, you know, like as we said before on the announcements, they are doing taxes. They have somebody qualified folks to prepare tax preparation for those seniors that meet that income guideline. So, and that's basically why we built the addition out there for programming such as like that.
Yeah.
Not to file their taxes.
No.
Things
But
like
they
that.
do computer classes.
Yes.
There is a good variety of things for our seniors to do.
Absolutely, and we have another video clue. It's a ribbon cutting at a local business. We're at a new business that's opening up here in Piscataway, Coded Ninja, and this is Nitin Sartonen. We're here, the owner of this place, and he insists that this is going to be the new Silicon Valley of learning in Piscataway Township. So, and we have some of the clientele here, as well as Councilman Jim Ballard, Councilwoman Chanel McCollum, Councilman Cahill Shaw, and Councilman Frank Earn here today, as well as myself. So we're going to have the honors. And what's your name?
Arish.
Arish is going to have the honors here. Do you know how to, ready, Arish? And we're going to do a countdown.
2, 1.
Hey!
There you go. And we wish Coded Ninja the best greatness here. Well, Karish said he was cutting the ribbon. He was getting a little frightened. He didn't want. He thought he was going to snip my finger off. It's like, that's not very good. I've had other things hit my fingers, and they were dull scissors anyway.
So that's a great business.
It's kind of funny how their technology, what they're doing is taking play games, apps, and teaching kids how to learn.
They code.
Code, which is very interesting. So I joked with the owner. I said, "What is this trying to become the Silicon Valley of learning of Piscataway?"
May be a happy accident. Might be the next.
And we're going to go to one more video right here. We have another ribbon cutting that took place. This is at the Montessori Matters preschool over there. For those folks that may not remember, who have a little age that grew up in Piscataway Township, that building used to be the old Board of Education offices back in the 60s and 70s. That's one of the old original barracks from Camp Kilmer.
Oh, that's
believe it or not.
fantastic.
So it's kind of interesting how that was part of the Board of Education buildings, and now it's a Montessori Matters school. So it has maintained its mission all these for the last 50 years as a educational building. I mean, it's really morphed, so it's kind of interesting how that has happened.
Yeah. Well, not to go off topic, but you just mentioned talking about the original barracks. There are probably plenty of residents in town who don't realize that we had Camp Kilmer here in town.
I know that's for another TV show.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I can remember as a kid growing up going to watch the bonfires the night before the Franklin Piscataway Thanksgiving game. They used to have DPW go down there and knock down one of the old buildings and bring the all the wood up, and then they would have a bonfire up on Green Acres right there. So because at that time, they were decommissioning the base, and they were just looking to get rid of all this stuff. So that was the big thing. And then they would have a bonfire about, God knows, 50 feet tall up there, and it seems like every fire company in town was out there just in case, because it was like a roaring fire.
Sure.
So, but that's something for another show. We spoke about the traffic section. We spoke about the narcotics section in a roundabout way. Is there any other specific section? General investigations. What is that? Is that like a catch-all phrase?
It is all-encompassing. Our general investigations, as I said earlier, would be from your criminal mischief right up to your homicide.
So if somebody said, all right, some kids put toilet paper on my mailbox and egged my house on, mischief night, they call the police department to do...
We are responsive to every call. So what one person might deem to be important, the caller deems it important, so we respond to it. And that's the message that we share with our officers, that what might not seem important is important to the caller. And we have citizens who've been residents of this town for a very long time, and that is something that they want to call their local police. They're going to receive service
And
from
by
us.
the way, especially if the call is done to 911, it's mandatory state law. Any police department has to show up at that call where it originated from.
Even if it's a mistake.
That's right.
I'm asking that you don't use 911 for a toilet paper in your mailbox.
That
is an emergency line.
Yeah.
So 732-562-1100 is for non-emergency calls, such as the mayor's
I was
example.
just using that as a
Well, it's a great example because, as I said, just because you may not perceive it to be an emergency, or you may not perceive it to be important, the caller, the person affected by it, is bothered enough to call the police, and they are going to get a response from the Piscataway Police Department. We may not be able to spend an exorbitant amount of time there, but you will get a response from us.
Yeah, that's good. Now, like a burglary is not considered a general investigation.
That is. General investigations does your burglary investigation. They would come out, gather physical evidence, check the point of entry. They would use fingerprint dust.
And by the way, I don't think that we've gotten out there that much that if somebody wants like a security sweep of their house, I mean, our department's willing to go, willing to go out and take a quick, make some suggestions. I mean, they're not experts like if you hire a company.
Right.
I mean, if you have hedge bushes that are blocking, obviously that should be lowered, that where somebody nefarious intentions might be doing something, then make a suggestion like that.
Yes, our community policing section would actually do an assessment. And if they were overworked, we would get one of our general investigations detectives to do just an assessment on your home and some suggestions that you might be able to implement.
And a lot of times it's something simple. Remember to lock your doors.
Right.
Lock
Changing
your
a light bulb
windows.
on your front door.
Or your car. A lot of times we get burglaries of cars. People leave their car doors open, and people come in looking for stuff. And
an easy grab.
People sometimes, believe it or not, leave their phones or laptops in their cars unlocked.
One of the easiest crime prevention tools that you can do is lock doors.
Right.
Yeah.
Lock your car door, lock your house door.
Yeah.
I lock my own doors.
I remember when we first moved into town, we accidentally set off the alarm. Our dogs were there. The officer came and said, "Why do you have an alarm system? You have dogs." And actually a neighbor who was burglarized had asked, should they get some sort of protection, like a weapon to protect. And he said, no, get a dog. And I like that about our police department. And our neighbor got a dog.
a dog in addition to an alarm.
Yes.
An alarm. Dogs are wonderful. Alarm is better.
Right.
Alarm is better.
Right.
We do have another video that we want to go to the videotape that was actually taken today. So let's go to the videotape. This was the National Letter of Intent Day. For those folks that don't know what that is, that's when high school seniors are signing their intent to enroll at a university where they're going to continue their collegiate athletics right there. So these are some of the folks that are receiving scholarships from schools for softball, football, track. There's some of the football players down there. So it's a big little ceremony that took place in the Piscataway High School 11-12 building library. And we have a lot of the parents are down there. I don't know who was happier, the students signing the letter of intent or the parents seeing it being signed there. And there's obviously some of the coaches and some of the faculty from Piscataway High School that are there. So what was not in there was some of the other students that have already graduated early and that have already enrolled in the sports programs at their respective universities, like Austin Mosier and things like that. So, so there was a lot of other students that did receive.
So exciting.
And I don't want to take anything away for those students that are going to receive academic scholarships.
Right.
Which, believe it or not, like most graduating classes, that far outweighs the athletics scholarships that given there. So, but I want to congratulate those students that signed today, and I know the parents are very happy about that. So, it's great day for Piscataway sports.
Yeah,
great day for Piscataway sports. Yep. All right, so we talked about general investigations. We talked about traffic section. What were we leaving out?
We talked about narcotics.
Talked about narcotics
section. We talked about our community policing section. Our patrol section, which is the largest section of our police department.
Which, for most people, a lot of times in most municipalities, the first time they have contact with local government is when they actually pick up the phone and call the police department.
Right.
95% of the time, depending upon how long, that's the first time they have contact with local government.
Right.
That nice officer that you spoke of that responded to your alarm, that's our patrol section. That's our first responders. We have a fantastic group of men and women that work here in Piscataway. They understand the needs of the community. They're very responsive. I think everybody will know that they're very well represented here in Piscataway by their police department, and that's a group of men and women that I am very, very proud of to come to work with every day.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not easy being somebody out on patrol because you never know what you're going to come into while you're on patrol.
Right.
And we're almost 19 square miles, and we have a lot of things out there. So there's always something going on. Any last? You got 10 seconds left.
If anybody in Piscataway wants anything to do with our community policing section, please feel free to call or call our main desk. You'll be directed the right way.
And I want to, before we close out, I know it's Valentine's Day month coming up and next week.
Next week is Valentine's.
For all those spouses out there, significant others, make sure you take care of them. And to my wife, Paulette, thank you for putting up with me for the whole year. As always, as crazy as I am, I just want to remind you I do love you. And just so it's never said. I get a freebie on that one because my wife's allergic to flowers and candy.
Oh.
So.
Well, there's always jewelry, Brian.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
So we closets.
All right, let's not get crazy, Councilwoman. So anyway, we'll see you all in March, first week of March, and that's the high holy month for us of Irish descent.